Is Texas's beauty trap proof that paradise always fails? Balmorhea, Marfa, Galveston, Aransas Terlingua. These places look like paradise, but they're actually built to break down. Without real roads, hospitals, or steady jobs, great views can't save them. They aren't just struggling, they're failing. Here's the question. Why do Texas's most beautiful places keep losing people while ugly ones explode? Stay until the end. We're revealing which ugly Texas town is growing faster than Austin. Before you pack your bags for paradise, here's a fun question. What happens when the one thing keeping a town alive just stops working? You're in the middle of the Texas desert. It's bone dry out here, like 8 inches of rain per year. The ground looks like Mars. It's 105 degrees, and there's a swimming pool. Not just any swimming pool, a natural spring-fed pool the size of almost 2 football fields. The water stays between 72 and 76 degrees all year round. There are fish in there that exist nowhere else on Earth. We're talking prehistoric water bubbling up from underground while you're floating around in the desert. That's Balmorhea State Park, and it's actually wild. About 160,000 people drive out there every year just to see it. And the little towns nearby, Balmorhea and Toyavale, their entire economy runs on that spring. That's it. Spring water equals tourists equals money. Here's the problem. That water comes from underground, deep underground. It flows through cracks in limestone rock, basically underground rivers. And that same underground water sits directly under one of the biggest oil and gas zones in America. Back in 2016, this oil company called Apache said they were going to drill thousands of wells right there. And when you drill for oil using fracking, you need water, a lot of water. We're talking millions of gallons per well. The spring puts out 22 million gallons per day. Sounds like a ton, right? But do the math. If you're running hundreds of fracking operations, that water starts disappearing fast. But wait, it gets worse. Fracking doesn't just use water, it makes toxic wastewater, and that waste gets pumped back into the ground. If something breaks, if the well leaks, if the toxic stuff finds its way into the same cracks that feed the spring, you don't just lose water, you poison it. Benzene, heavy metals, chemicals with names you can't pronounce. Once that stuff gets in the water underground, it stays there for decades, maybe centuries. Texas Parks and Wildlife freaked out so bad they started doing studies just to have proof of what the water looked like before anything went wrong. That's how scared they were. Then in 2020, Apache gave up. The oil play didn't work out. They lost $3 billion and left. Balmorhea got lucky. But here's the thing, the wells are still there. The toxic waste is still down there. And the next time oil prices go up, the rigs could come right back. Scientists looked at all the data on well failures and leaks in Texas. Their best guess, there's a 1 in 5 chance that the water gets contaminated over the next 50 years. 1 in 5. Would you raise your kids in a town where there's a 20% chance the only water source just dies? The population in 2010 was 508 people. In 2020, 479. People are leaving. The town is beautiful, world-class beautiful, but the whole economy is one spring. And that spring is sitting on top of a geological time bomb that nobody in town can control. Every tourist sees a miracle. Every person who lives there knows they're living on borrowed time. So if one invisible leak can kill a desert miracle, what happens when the ground under your beach house starts sinking into the ocean? Marfa is about 60 miles from Balmorhea. Same desert, same heat, but a totally different vibe. This place is famous, like New York Times famous, Vogue magazine famous. Why? Because some artist named Donald Judd moved there in the 1970s and filled it with weird minimalist art installations. Now it's one of the coolest art towns in the world. Population? 1,700. And unlike Balmorhea, that number's been pretty stable. So Marfa figured it out, right? Beat the system? Not exactly. Here's what happened. The art scene brought galleries. Galleries brought rich tourists. Rich tourists brought boutique hotels and fancy restaurants. And then remote workers and retirees with money started buying houses. A house that cost $60,000 in 2000, now it's $400,000. Rents tripled.
And the people who actually work in Marfa, the people running the hotels, pumping gas, working on ranches, they can't afford to live there. They're getting pushed out of their own town. Young families can't move there. The school is struggling. The average age keeps going up. Marfa is turning into a museum, beautiful, curated, and totally disconnected from the people who make it actually function. People say Marfa has a diverse economy: art galleries, film crews, hotels, remote workers. But think about it. Take away the Marfa is cool brand, and what's left? Art galleries only make money when rich people buy art. Film crews only show up when Texas gives them tax breaks. Remote workers can leave whenever they want. Boutique hotels need tourists who can drop $300 a night. It's still a beauty trap, just a fancier one. And don't forget, this is the desert. 12 inches of rain per year. The underground water is dropping. If climate change gets worse, if the water runs out, Marfa has the same problem as Balmorhea, just slower. The nearest real hospital? Over an hour away in Alpine. Jobs for people without college degrees? Disappearing. Marfa isn't dying, but it's slowly becoming a playground for wealthy people while the working class folks who keep the lights on get squeezed out. Eventually, the whole system just stops working.
If an art town in the middle of nowhere can accidentally price out its own people, just imagine what happens when your entire city is literally, and I mean literally, sinking into the Gulf of Mexico. Galveston is gorgeous. I'm talking classic American beach town gorgeous. Old brick buildings from the 1800s, miles of beaches, the seawall, pleasure pier. On a perfect spring day with the breeze coming off the Gulf, it feels like paradise. There's just one tiny problem. The island is sinking while the ocean is rising. I'm not being dramatic. This is actually happening. Two things are going on at the same time. First, the ground is dropping. For the last 100 years, people have been pumping water and oil out of the ground onto Galveston. When you take millions of gallons of liquid out, the ground settles, like a cake deflating. Some parts of Galveston have dropped 10 feet since 1900. The average is about 1.5 to 2 feet. Second, the ocean is rising. Ice is melting. Water expands when it heats up. The Gulf is about 8 to 9 inches higher than it was in 1880. So the land goes down, the water comes up, and the gap between them closes faster and faster. Scientists measure this stuff. Right now, the relative sea level at Galveston is rising about 6.6 millimeters per year. By 2100, the island could see 3 to 5 more feet of sea level rise. At 5 feet, big chunks of the island go underwater. Not during storms, just underwater, permanently. Now, at hurricanes. The 1900 Galveston hurricane killed more than 6,000 people. It's still the deadliest natural disaster in American history. In 2008, Hurricane Ike hit as a Category 2. 75% of homes got damaged. 10,000 people left and never came back. So what's it cost to live on a sinking island in the middle of Hurricane Alley? Flood insurance, $3,000 to $8,000 per year, and that's the government-subsidized price. Wind insurance? A lot of companies won't even sell it to you anymore. Let's say you buy a $300,000 house. Your mortgage is about $1,800 a month. Flood insurance is $500. Wind insurance is $400. Property tax is $400. That's $3,100 a month before you even turn on the lights, before you fix anything, in a market where everyone knows the island is sinking and the storms are getting worse. The population peaked in 59,000 in the 1960s. Now it's around 50,000 and basically flat. Galveston has more going for it than most places on this list. There's a port, tourism, a medical center, but the danger is so extreme it doesn't matter. People stay because they love it, because their families have been there forever, because the beaches are beautiful and the history is real. But every hurricane season is a test. Every insurance bill is a punch in the gut. Every inch of ocean rise is a countdown clock. If a city with actual infrastructure and jobs can't beat the ocean, what chance does a tiny island town have when hurricanes literally erase it every few years? Port Aransas sits on Mustang Island, a barrier island off the coast near Corpus Christi. It's the perfect Texas beach town. Fishing, surfing, sea turtles, beautiful dunes. About 3,700 people live there full-time, but during tourist season, that swells to 30,000. The whole economy is tourism, vacation rentals, t-shirt shops, fried shrimp restaurants, fishing charters.
If you're visiting for a week, it's paradise. If you live there, you're on a timer that resets every hurricane season. August 2017, Hurricane Harvey makes landfall at Port Aransas as a Category 4, winds up to 130 miles per hour. The town got obliterated. 95% of buildings were damaged or destroyed. 95%. Before Harvey, 3,900 people. After Harvey, 3,200. Some of them took years to come back. A lot never did. Here's the math that should terrify you. Port Aransas has been hit by major hurricanes or tropical storms 9 times since 1900. That's once every 13 years or so, and the time between storms is getting shorter. After Harvey, the town rebuilt. FEMA money came in, vacation rentals went back up, tourists came back, and everyone pretends it won't happen again. But it will. The question isn't if, it's when. Insurance is almost impossible to get at a price normal people can afford. A lot of homeowners are self-insuring, which is a fancy way of saying if the next storm hits, they're completely broke. The people rebuilding now? Investors, vacation rental companies, not the working-class families who live there year-round. There's no hospital on the island. Medical emergency? You gotta drive 20 minutes to Corpus Christi, assuming the causeway isn't flooded or destroyed. There's one small school. Roads are basic, and everything gets wrecked every decade or so. Oh, and here's a fun fact. Barrier islands aren't permanent. They move. They erode. The sand shifts during storms. Port Aransas exists on borrowed geological time. After every hurricane, the island is literally different. Dunes move, shorelines disappear, roads buckle. Port Aransas is beautiful the way a sandcastle is beautiful. Amazing, detailed, and doomed the second the tide comes in. People rebuild anyway. They say it's worth it. The sun rises, the fishing, the island life. If rebuilding every decade sounds crazy, at least there's something to rebuild. But what happens when you move to a town that already died 70 years ago and you're just living in the corpse? Terlingua might be the most hauntingly beautiful place in Texas. It sits right on the edge of Big Bend National Park in the middle of the Chihuahuan Desert. The views are unreal. Massive desert landscapes, mountains on the horizon, night skies so dark you can see the Milky Way with your naked eyes, sunsets that look fake because the colors are so intense. It's the kind of place people move when they want to get away from it all. And here's the thing about that phrase, get away from it all. In Terlingua, it all means hospitals, grocery stores, schools, jobs, running water, and basically everything that makes a town a town. Population of Terlingua, 58 people. I'm not joking, 58. If you count the wider area and all the random people living off-grid on desert lots, maybe a few hundred. The economy? Tourism from Big Bend. A couple restaurants, some river tour companies, retirees living on pensions. That's it. There's no grocery store. The nearest one is 30 miles away. No hospital. The nearest real medical center is 80 miles away in Alpine. The nearest trauma center? 300 miles in El Paso. No school. Families either drive to the next town or homeschool. Most properties are off-grid. Solar power, rainwater collection, or you pay someone to truck in water. Roads are dirt. Cell service? Forget about it. Internet? Good luck. Water is the big one. This is the desert. 12 inches of rain per year, and most of it evaporates before it even hits the ground. There's no reliable underground water for most properties. You live on rainwater you collect yourself, or you pay $5 per gallon to have someone truck it in. If you run out and it's not raining, you're in serious trouble. Heat is the second killer. Summer temps hit 110, sometimes 115, and if you have a medical emergency in that heat, help is an hour and a half away, if you can even call for help, because there's no cell service. And the economy is completely fragile. Terlingua exists because Big Bend National Park brings in about 500,000 visitors a year. Some of them stop in Terlingua for gas or food. If tourism stops, recession, pandemic, border issues, government shutdown that closes the park, the whole economy vanishes overnight. During COVID, Terlingua basically shut down. Businesses closed, tourists stopped coming, people left. Some never came back. The beauty is undeniable. The stars, the silence, the feeling of total freedom. People move there because it's hard, because it's unforgiving, because you have to be tough. But being tough only works until something goes wrong. A medical emergency, a wildfire, a flash flood, a years-long drought. You're not living in a town, you're living in a beautiful, hostile environment that tolerates you as long as you don't need anything from it. Beauty score, 10 out of 10. Job variety, 1 out of 10. Danger level, 9 out of 10. Terlingua is the purest version of the beauty trap. It has everything except the things you need to actually live. The people who stay know this. Every day is a choice. Beauty over safety, isolation over infrastructure, freedom over security. It's not failing because it already failed. The mines closed in the 1940s. The town died. What's there now is a ghost town with a gift shop, full of people who find beauty in ruins. The question isn't whether Terlingua will survive, it's whether survival is even the point.
So if all 5 of these places prove beauty is a trap, why do people keep falling for it? Because our brains are wired wrong for the world we live in now. For thousands of years, beautiful meant safe, water meant life, green meant food. But we're using cave person instincts in a world with climate change and risks our ancestors never faced. Balmorhea's spring could die from one fracking accident. Marfa's pricing out its workers. Galveston is sinking. Port Arnsdale's gets destroyed every decade. Terlingua never had the basics. Meanwhile, Midland, flat, brown, oil rigs added 20,000 people in 10 years. Why? Jobs. Beauty without infrastructure is a trap. Jobs without beauty works, but it's ugly. Almost nobody has both. You want paradise, make sure it has a hospital and 3 kinds of jobs. Otherwise, you're not moving to a beautiful place. You're moving into a countdown timer with a nice view. That's the beauty trap. And Texas is full of them.